Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to this best of three between Sneaky Nick's Assassins and Team E-Hug for the JDL Finals Round 1. My name is Gorgon the Wonder Cow, and I'm joined as earlier, and hopefully as in the future, by Sheever.
Hello, thank you for having me back. I have to say, I'm looking forward to another action-packed game, and may I just say that Centaur has been left in the pool this time?
Aha, we might actually see him. Both these teams actually like that hero a fair amount. The Lycan and the AA not quite so lucky, and the Nyx Assassin also being banned out by E-Hug. They do not want to deal with that again.
Yeah, Nyx Assassins, they were, of course, the one who were victorious in game number 1. What I would like to see from them this game, because even though they won, you know, that they did good, you know, you have the desired result, but I would like to see from them that they are having a bit more synergy and union in terms of what they are planning to do. I hope that we can see a progression like that, even though it's, you know, it's just the second game and, you know, people don't normally change that fast, but I'm hoping that we can actually see a bit of that.
Yeah, well, the Centaur War Runner probably is going to, well, Sneaky Nyx Assassins, they don't always run that Centaur War Runner in that off lane. They do like to do a farming carry style Centaur War Runner on occasion and allow the Bat Rider to slide through the draft for the IX Mike to pick up, which is, of course, one of his signature heroes, so we'll have to see what they want to do, but at the moment, Centaur War Runner looks like probably going to be their off lane. Ember Spirit probably going to be the mid coming out of E-Hug. So E-Hug has that sort of late game carry style with that Ember Spirit. He takes a little while to get going. They'll probably go for an earlier farming carry if that's the case, if that is in fact their mid.
Yeah, would like to see that. Normally, Ember, yeah, he does need a bit of time to get like really strong. He's already pretty strong early on, of course, purely because of his spell. So if he gets levels, he's already doing okay. That's why you normally give him a lot of farm and levels. But you do need something that already helps out early on, especially because if Ember doesn't have his flame guard up, he's really squishy.
Oh yeah. He's very, very susceptible to loss of mana, which may be one of the reasons why Nyx Assassin was banned out, because that can be so damaging to have that mana burn cast up against the Ember Spirit in the mid lane throughout the entire laning phase. It can really keep him from getting his last hits.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple more heroes picked up that normally would go for mana boots. Like Shadow Shaman, who does want to go for mana boots already, that is one of them, and has great synergy with Ember on himself. I mean, if you can just hold someone in place while Ember has got that flame guard up, it is so deadly. On top of that, Ember has got his own disable as well. That is basically the death of someone, and it could even be the Centaur, who is naturally tanky, and Vengeful Spirit, who has a pretty high strength gain, of course, as well of her own, especially later on in the game.
Yeah, not to mention the Hex, which does very, very well up against that Centaur War Runner, making him much easier to take down without splashing a whole bunch of damage back at your team right away. And, of course, the Serpent Wards, which are also going to be able to take down the Centaur War Runner if it is a Centaur Trap, because the Serpent Wards aren't going to have the return damage given to them. So that Shadow Shaman pick is actually a really strong pick up against the Centaur in general, but in combination with the Ember Spirit, I agree, we could be looking at a fairly strong counter.
Yeah. I like the Vengeful Spirit pickup. I do hope that they get something else as well. I mean, Vengeful Spirit and Centaur both have this great Sable, but they're both, like Centaur, obviously, melee hero, until he has a blink, which then he is still a melee hero, but he can at least long range initiate. Vengeful Spirit overall has a fairly short range. I hope that they can make it into maybe a tri-lane. I'm secretly hoping for an aggressive tri-lane with some kind of longer ranged hero. I wouldn't mind seeing a Lina, actually. That would be a nice one to have, with another stun, of course, to follow up on all the disable coming out from the other two. Or maybe a Bane would be a nice one as well. Of course, you do need something for that Ember. You want to have something to hold them in place. Be that a Fiend's Grip, be that an extra disable. They do, like I said, already have 2 strong disables, but I would secretly like to have an aggressive tri-lane. Do they do that sometimes?
Oh yeah, Sneaky Nyx Assassins are a very aggressive team, especially if they're up in a series. They do experiment around with the aggressive tri-lanes. They're going to grab the Templar Assassin, who is once again an aggressive hero. That's a rotating mid, unlike the Ember Spirit, who usually just kind of sits in lane. And that does give away that Sneaky Nyx Assassins is planning on doing something in the early game through like the 8-minute mark, trying to get some sort of kills up in their side lane. So an aggressive tri-lane is not off the table here, especially if you throw that Centaur War Runner in it and then allow IX Mike to take a solo safe lane farm. That could be very, very potent. But since they did ban out the Bat Rider and the Clockwork, I'm becoming less inclined to think that they're going to go ahead and put Snot on that Centaur War Runner, just because the other two heroes that Ice Mike typically plays, that is the Bat Rider and the Clockwork. So they just banned out two of his signature heroes.
Yeah.
He'll probably be on that Centaur War Runner.
Well, could always have, like, IX Michael, an aggressive tri-lane, maybe. I can only hope. I see the Darkseer picked up. Now, I know he's been making a bit of a comeback, but I'm still not really sold on the hero. But I have actually recently seen it used in CIS Dota, in like, Insane Gaming. But it's, they're used as a aggressive tri-lane support, which actually worked out amazingly well, because if that aggressive tri-lane worked out well, he had basically the same amount of farm as an off-lane Darkseer would have had at like 15 minutes into the game. He had his mechanism ready. It was insane. Yeah,
Darkseer is coming back in the meta a little bit, most likely because of that 1 second reduction in 6.80 on the Ion Shell, which is... When you think about it, I think that's a really, really potent change. There's the Mirana. That's going to be your aggressive tri-laner. Mirana, Vengeful Spirit, +1. Centaur War Runner in the solo safe lane. That's what I'm expecting here. The Vengeful Spirit will work very well with this lineup. We should presumably be seeing another hard stun, hard disable, or maybe a really, really strong slow like a Visage.
Bane. I'm thinking Bane, but I'm also thinking that EHOG is thinking that too, so they're going to ban out the Bane.
Yeah, the Bane here would work really, really well with the Mirana. The Dazzle is going to come out for EHUG this time. Dazzle works really well with the Vacuum. Vacuum on top of the Weave can be very devastating.
Yeah, that could work out very well for them. They do have got nice heroes, but I see the same problem as we saw in the previous game. Darkseer needs some time to mechanism up. Ember needs some time to get his levels up and get his first real damage item before he's actually starting to be living up to his full potential. Shadow Shaman, level dependent. Support Dazzle is probably the best one here in terms of not being as level dependent as the rest, but he is slightly level dependent. You normally want to have at least level 5 or something, and still having that ultimate is going to make a big difference as well. But again, the last pick has to be the glue to get everything together, to make everything working, and to make them actually able to fight fairly early on, because if you look at Sneaky Nyx Assassins, it's not like they're gonna sit around and waiting until Team EHOG is ready.
Yeah, exactly. I think a Luna would go really well here for all the reasons you just said. They need somebody, presumably for the safe lane, that is going to come in, going to give a little bit of aggression through the mid game, also going to be fairly survivable in the lanes, because it does look like it is an aggressive tri-lane. And I think a Luna would fit there well, also give them a little bit of push on top of that Shadow Shaman, which they kind of need in terms of tower push. They've got plenty of lane push. Once they get up to the tower, though, without those Serpent Wards, they don't have a lot of ways to actually crumble the building.
Yeah, Shadow Demon is the last ban. So it's kind of falls into the same category of the Bane.
Yeah. Same exact thing, basically. I think Shadow Demon is a stronger combo with the Mirana, but it is a little harder because you do have to time that right on the disruption.
Yeah, and it would have been actually a nice thing to have maybe. I mean, you have an instant heal coming out from the Dazzle, so those illusions are already gone, but perhaps also the Demonic Purge is something that they don't want to deal with.
Yeah, and the Soul Catcher is one of the... I think the Soul Catcher is probably the most underrated level 2 spell in the game. It amps up damage a tremendous amount for an aggressive tri-lane, so you only do 60% of the damage that you would normally expect to do, and it's extremely easy to land if you are at all experienced with that Shadow Demon, not to mention the fact that it would line up for the Mirana Arrow and followed by the Magic Missile. Yeah, that could have been a very, very devastating combo. Sneaky Nyx Assassin still thinking about what they want. The Bane would go really well here, but the one problem I would see with the Bane is that there are a lot of ways to disable the Bane out of that Fiend script on the table right now, and presumably they're going to
disable.
And presumably we're going to see another one picked up here. So for the Bane, that Fiend script might be a little difficult to land, but it would be very helpful against the Ember Spirit. So getting that Bane is a bit of a gamble, but it would definitely pay off in the aggressive tri-lane that Sneaky Nyx Assassins, we believe at least, they're going to run.
Sand King, I like that a lot. Gives them a lot more team fight as well, because maybe that was the thing that they were kind of lacking compared to EHOG. I mean, they had the Centaur, obviously. They're not weak in team fighting, but EHOG was just a lot bigger. With the Sand King, they at least make it even again and actually come out a little bit ahead depending on what EHOG has there unless that last pick, which by the way, they can think about as long as they want, well, almost as long as they want, because they've only used 2 seconds in their bonus time so far.
Yeah, EHUG's been really on top of things so far, and they really boiled Sneaking Assassins down. They clearly picked that Sand King up because it was the only option that they had someone agreed on. They got down to 1 second of bonus time, so they basically just had to pick the only thing that they weren't arguing about, I assume. Sand King coming out, but that does make them very gold dependent. They want to be aggressive early, but they have to be successful because Templar Assassin needs a Blink Dagger, Centaur Warrunner needs a Blink Dagger, Sand King needs a Blink Dagger, Vengeful Spirit probably wants to get up a Force Staff, somebody needs to get up a Mechanism. We're going to see the Marana as a farming carry, presumably, although you could switch that. You could actually see the Marana in the solo off lane and the Centaur Warrunner as the farmer. I think the Centaur is going to be played by IX Mike, though, in that solos position.
Yeah, because otherwise also you've got only the Venge as your ranged hero, and she already has such a short range that it could turn bad real easy. And
also, setting up that arrow on the Vengeful Spirit Magic Missile is not very difficult. Why would you turn down an opportunity for such a strong stun in the early game against your opponent's farming carry?
Magic Missile into Burrow Strike into Arrow. That's a kill right there.
Oh yeah.
Unless that picks up an early grave. I love that pickup.
I can't believe that didn't come to my mind as soon as we saw the Dazzle. In fact, I can't believe... Well, Sneaking Assassins got rid of the Nevermore, who also has the negative armor. So they chose out of the worst of two evils. But Slardar is going to stack up that negative armor with the Weave. He also has a tremendous amount of mid-game presence if he gets that Blink Dagger up. So there's going to be
You said the magic word, though.
What?
If.
Yeah, exactly. We are going to be waiting for that farm to work out, and Sneaking Assassins, this is a game that they want to take an early lead and never give it up. This is not one of those games that they're okay going back and forth because they know in the end they're going to win.
If they end up going back and forth, EHUG is going to have such an advantage with just having that Ember there. On the other side, if Sneaking Assassins gets ahead, Slardar is one of those heroes that has a very tough time on coming back if he doesn't get his early gold up, if he doesn't get his early items up. He'll have a very difficult time at still finding the right items and still being the kind of hero that he usually is, the hero that initiates, the hero that blinks in, crushes, and then everybody else will follow up on him. But if he is too squishy, if he's far behind, he's already dead before the rest of his team arrives.
Yeah, this is an immediate smoke coming out of SNA. So we said they want to be aggressive starting early, and this is exactly as early as they want to get going out. They actually smoked up in the base, so they're wasting quite a bit of the duration of the smoke. And it does not look like they're actually going to run into anybody on EHUG, but they will be able to drop down some wards here. Once again, this is an aggressive rotation, which might imply an aggressive tri-lane, but we don't know 100%. There's a very nice block there. And some additional vision will come out. Meanwhile, EHUG up here in the top doing more or less the same thing. They're going to be setting up here into the jungle. And taking a look at some of the items, the soul ring recipe does go out on cakes on the Darkseer. Other than that, pretty standard early game builds. I mean, even that's fairly standard, but that's the only thing that stands out at all in terms of the early items. So what do you think? Are we going to see this collapse into a tri-lane?
I think so. At least Marana is sticking around on the bottom lane for the moment. Centaur, he is played by X-Mike. He did pick up Boots first, which is your typical off-lane kind of hero, but it would be such a shame. I would really like to see them try to contest that farm of the Slardar, because if that would be successful, the game would be theirs, I think.
Yeah.
And now they're kind of playing it on safe because they would be up against a very difficult aggressive trial. And obviously, you've got a Slardar with a Dazzle and a Shadow Shaman, which is not easy. And they're playing it safe, which is okay, respectable, but I would have liked to see them taking the chance because they too have a very strong tri lane.
Yeah, the wards here kind of almost gave it away. You don't usually want to block that camp out if you are going to do an aggressive tri-lane because you want your opponents to go into the jungle so that you can pick them off one at a time, sort of Blair Witch style. But once again, we do see two heroes starting off in the mid. Presumably that Sand King is going to back off. He did just come in and grab that double damage.